So you guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started because we are privileged to have someone from the Portage Community Center, and it's Shirley Kunke. And she's a wonderful, interesting person. And I hope that you guys will ask her questions and find out more about the agency that she works for. And if you're interested, I know she's going to have lots of opportunities in terms of volunteerism. So, hey, please.
Thanks. Good morning. As you said, my name is Shirley Kunke. I am a licensed bachelor of social worker. So I actually have my bachelor's of social work, which I earned at University of Wyoming. Even though I was born and raised here in Kalamazoo, I was actually raised over in the Edison neighborhood by a single parent, first generation college graduate. And I think having those experiences growing up really led me to have a lot more empathy when I'm working with people because I can have an understanding of some of the struggles that they've come through and that they're going through currently. Though I do have to say, because I no longer live in poverty, I'm no longer what I'd consider an expert on it, even though there are people who do kind of try to list me that way. Um, so I was supposed to have two interns here with me. I am a field instructor with WMU, and so I teach social workers as they're working towards getting their bachelor's, and they help us run some of our holiday programming and other things like that. A little bit about the Portage Community Center. It was created by Portage Central students about 50 years ago. They saw a need that some of the students weren't having met as far as tutoring, as far as after school programming and things like that. And the students came together and actually created what became the Portage Community Center. So it started out with them doing a free store for students and tutoring, and it's grown into what we have now, which I oversee the emergency assistance programming. And then we have another person, Kirk Lowe's, who oversees the youth programming. I'm not going to speak too much about the youth programming, but I can say it's small group, trauma-informed care. They do a summer program that begins in middle school, and it is free to qualifying families. Their after-school program, which runs middle school through high school, is free to anyone who is eligible and kind of comes in. They do try to keep the group small because every single youth in the program has survived some form of trauma. Um, so what we do is we have multiple areas that we assist in. These yellow brochures up here actually talk about some of our programming. So we do have a clothing closet where we give out free clothing. We do have to require that people kind of apply and do a completed intake with us. Once they do, they're eligible to get clothing up to twice a month. And it's literally a room. They come in and say, hey, we want to use the clothing bar. We go unlock it for them. We allow them to get the items that they need. And so it's very much based on them being the determining power as to what's needed and what isn't for them. We have a Loaves and Fishes food pantry that is open Mondays through Thursdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And we have volunteers that work in that. And so people call Loaves and Fishes. They get put on our schedule, they come in, and it's like a store. And so they are able to come in. And once again, they make the determination as to what foods that their family will eat. And they can select food based on that. We have a personal care program. Once I have a completed intake, this is one of the ones that's only for the community of Portage. It's only funded for it, which I almost forgot to mention. We are the only human services nonprofit that exists within the city of Portage to serve the people of Portage. All of the other human service organizations are in Kalamazoo. And so it can be kind of a big thing when I'm kind of having to differentiate based on where we serve. So the personal care is funded for individuals from Portage. Everything is donated, but they can come in once every 60 days. They fill out an order form as to what products they need, whether it is shampoo, conditioner, hair styling products, Kleenex, and then we go and we fill that order and bring it out to them. Um, the other thing that we do is we have emergency financial assistance. Our agency is able to help everyone that we have a completed intake for up to $200 each fiscal year to use towards a shutoff. So whether that's an electric shutoff, a water shutoff, or an eviction, we're able to provide that amount of money. And then I also try to keep a really close eye on other resources to reach out to kind of help fill in that gap and that need.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So if we're taking food to Loaves and Fishes and then it's coming back here, do you have direct donation?
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, I was also thinking about, what was the first thing you talked about besides food? Um, where, oh, we send people away because we don't take clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And do we know, anyone here know where we tell people to?
Trinity.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yep, we accept clothing and we go through and we sort through all of it. So one thing I have to say is I have 4 pets at home. All of them are adopted. 3 out of the 4 are white. So if you look closely at my dress, it is covered in hair. I would not be able to donate my own dress to my work because we don't know what allergies people have. And so we actually have to go through all the clothing, make sure they don't smell like cigarette smoke, make sure that they're not covered in hair. One of the things that I try to do is if we have a large amount of clothing that we're not able to take for those types of reasons, is I have reached out to the jail and sent clothing to the jail. I've reached out to Ripple Effects, which has a foster care closet that's here in town. And so I will reach out to those other agencies and we will take our donations from our site to their site. Ripple Effects actually has a washer and dryer. So if I get kids' clothes in and they're messy, I let them know that and they're able to wash those clothes to make sure that they're clean to be able to give them away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like, maybe we could give 2 choices. If somebody doesn't want to drive if they're here
Mm-hmm.
and they're right down the street. But I don't know who's in charge of making that decision.
Yeah. And so last year, our food pantry served 1,576 households and 4,377 individuals over the course of the year. Our personal care, we served 95 households or 253 individuals. And for financial assistance, we provided assistance to 72 households with over 207 individuals. I don't have the financial numbers with me. When the tornado hit in May, it was a complete shock for us. I think it was a complete shock for everybody. We were kind of scrambling all over. We brought in the Department of Health and Human Services. They were able to sit down and meet with people to provide emergency food stamps to families. And while they were in, if they were directly affected, they were referred over to me. I would take them through the food pantry and also get them personal care. During the 2 weeks, by the way, it took close to 3 weeks before we knew any sort of financial assistance that would be able to help or any grants coming through. And it was the same thing for all of the agencies in the area. So everybody had to wait that long, which was just heartbreaking for me. But during that 2 weeks, we assisted 238 individuals with emergency food and personal care. We did 173 families for food, 129 received personal care, and 80 families went through for clothing. Since May, we've helped 23 households and 67 individuals, including things that we don't normally offer assistance with. So we helped pay insurance deductibles. We helped pay some repair costs, some relocation costs, furniture replacement, and also stepping in to assist with the utilities. I actually just had a family come in who the tornado, the issues from it are finally hitting them. She talked about her family was in their house and watched the roof getting ripped off of it. And she finally came in for utility assistance. And we were able to cover that entire bill for her because of the tornado funding that we've received. And we expect to kind of see this moving on for probably another year. We are also donating space for after the storm. which is doing in-depth case management for any households or families that have been directly affected with the tornado. And they are helping with just about everything else. So, yeah. Not sure if you guys have any questions at this point. I know I kind of covered a lot, threw a lot of numbers out and just a lot of what we kind of do. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is our application process. Whenever a family comes in and they're in need of assistance, we do collect a copy of their photo ID, proof of income or no income for the last 30 days, proof of address, and then proofs for any children that are under the age of 21. The easiest way to get this, which a lot of people aren't aware of, is there is a form called a Notice of Case Action that DHHS does whenever somebody receives food stamps. That will have the breakdown of income, family members, and address on it. So really, we don't collect overly much, but I say it's hard to provide that kind of the proof of income when you've just lost a job. Or, you know, so we kind of work with them to try to find ways around it. And then the other big thing we do is our holiday programming, which is always the fun one, because I get to sit down with each family and kind of interview them about what their family wants or needs for Christmas. This last year, our numbers were actually down. We think it's because of the election and everything like that. So this year we adopted out 83 families to donors in the area. The year before that, there was 105. So a large number of people, and a lot of them are seniors who don't have children. They don't have anybody to kind of provide them with that. And so this gives them the opportunity to have that Christmas experience. I kind of organize the client side, and then we have another individual who organizes the donor side. One of the things I did bring with me in case people had questions about kind of the donor end of things, this is a handout that we do send out. And it covers things like we require each donor family to provide a food card. So instead of getting like a food box or basket from us at Christmas, they will be given a card to a local grocery store that they can go out and select the food that their family would want to eat for the holidays. So, so that's kind of, and then it kind of covers, you know, gift receipts, things like that. We just did our evaluation of the program this last year. And yeah, I think that's probably the big thing is everybody's like, can we please get gift receipts? Because sometimes the sizes don't work for our kids. Then yeah. So any questions on holidays?
No, I would just like to say that they have a wonderfully organized drop-off system. And so you line up in your car and you wait until the person who's on the ramp leaves, and then you're the next person up and they empty the car for you. It's amazing. So it's,
And we've just recently changed it. Well, we changed it, I think, last year for the first time, where we will actually collect the food card and it goes into a file for the families. And then when the families show up to pick up, they will come in and be greeted by either our interns or a volunteer. They will sign a gift receipt that says they've received their gifts. We give them their food card. And then while they're doing that, we have people gathering their gifts. So when they repeat the process and drive up, their gifts are waiting for them by the door and we can load them directly in the car for them.
so this last year, we had 3 families that we did congregationally.
Which is so fantastic. So I know we had a couple of little glitches because we lost our donor coordinator who does all the donor end of things. And so we had a wonderful person step in. And so there were some little communication things that I believe happened.
There were, but other years it's gone beautifully.
Yes, yes. So we're excited. We're hoping that we'll have him back.
Every year I struggle with trying to get what they really want, like, and the gift receipt, like, I know, do you have suggested stores we shop at? Like, I think, well, what if they don't have a car? What if they can't return it? You know, sizes, you know, a 3X women's coat, but I mean, you know, maybe it's 2X. I mean, I just get so stressed about getting the perfect thing for them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Like, I could figure if you're too specific, then it's like hard to shop for them. But
Mhm.
is there a way to express some preferences? Like I want a 3X coat and my favorite color is red, and that doesn't guarantee you'll get red, but it helps us.
And,
I don't know. It's
I think,
so
I think
hard.
I am going to add that favorite color onto our wish list when we sit down with them. We do try to get them to be as specific as possible, but a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't know, just anything.
Yeah.
Or they're more focused on getting everything for their kids. They don't want to do anything for themselves. I've had that too, where I've said, you know, it's kind of hard for your kids if your kids are getting all these gifts and they're watching you not open anything.
Yeah.
So we do try to do that. And I know we had one lady who was adopted this year who I cannot remember the name of it. It's the same condition that Abraham Lincoln had. So extremely long arms and legs. They're extremely tall. And the woman is so excited for the coat that she got because she got a full length coat. And she said it's just a little bit short for her arms because if she lifts her arms, it pulls up like that. But she, to this day, I saw her 2 days ago and she came and she goes, I still have my coat. I love my coat. And so it really does mean a lot to them that you do kind of take things into consideration when and if you can. And I would say just going to places that do provide gift receipts. Like if you order from Kohl's.com, ask for a gift receipt because they can return it to the Kohl's here. Um, so that would be kind of where I would look at is, you know, Kohl's, Meijer, Walmart, um, but really just about any place as long as there's a way for that if their kid like shoots up 2 inches that they can go and get the right size afterward. Um, so that would probably be like the biggest takeaway we had from the clients this
And
year.
then the best thing to do to wrap the gifts receipt in the package.
I would include it with your food card. So put it in an envelope. And when you turn in your food card, that goes right into the file that goes into the client's hands. And well, sorry, I hate the word client, by the way, into the people's hands that we're
Recipient,
serving. Yeah.
So do we do food cards? So then you would need to collect the gift
Gift
receipts.
receipts, yeah.
Okay, I
Mhm.
think I wrap mine into the gifts.
I did too. So this is the first I've learned that this is the better way to do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah,
I'll
because
So
put an
can you
envelope
put
out next
the-
year.
The family name or number
yeah, the family number, because we
on the gift receipt, yeah.
yeah, because we assign every family a number, and so it's double blind, so they don't know who their donors are, and the donors don't know who they are. Now, we do require a thank you card from every family, and we tell the families you do not need to write your name on the thank you card, but we will send those out to donors. So on occasion, a family will share that information. But we try to keep it kind of double blind as we can, just for that reason. So the other thing that we had was people were asking us to deliver gifts, which is something that we unfortunately can't do. Um, and we did have to do that during COVID. And what ended up happening was we ended up with donors taking photos with their families at their house and posting them online, which is a huge breach of confidentiality. And so we actually had to tell donors they're not allowed to donate anymore because of that. And so we want to avoid that at all costs too, because it's hard enough to ask for help. Especially, I hate to say it, especially in Portage. Because people have this idea about Portage, like if you go into Kalamazoo, if you live in Portage, you're rich. And so it's being in poverty, needing assistance is more of a hidden thing within Portage than it is in some other communities. So a lot of families are very ashamed. I even had a family that the father happened to know our executive director this year and was freaking out, making sure that the executive director would not know that his family was being served and that the executive director would not be there while he was picking up his gifts. And so we had to like make special arrangements for him to come get his gifts. So that just to kind of protect that.
One thing that would really help us is if if the child wants, you know, a certain brand of something,
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice if you could offer an alternative brand because sometimes they're all sold out. And so we can't get that brand and it makes us feel bad
Yeah.
that we're not satisfying the child. So
Mhm.
if you could have this thing or this thing, that would really be helpful.
And we did try to do that a little bit more this year too. I'm not sure which families you got right offhand, but I know that we had to have some hard conversations with some of the families we were serving this year, um, because the families' needs were so large that they were mentioning things that were just way out of price point for most families. And we had to say, the entire community got hit with a tornado. The people who are adopting your family have a budget they can't go over, and we need to be mindful that their budgets may be tighter this year. Is there something else that would work besides Nike specific and so we did try to do that a little bit more
That's
this
great.
year. So,
I think the management of the gift receipts will help too with a lot of the dilemma of, because one of the dilemmas I have is, they want a Nintendo Switch game.
mhm,
Well, I don't know what games you already have.
yes,
It doesn't really matter if we manage the gift receipts, because they can
Exactly.
go exchange it.
exactly. And that is one of the things that we do run into is they're like, well, I don't know what game they want, but they want a game. And it's like, okay, well, the more specific we can get, the easier it is. That's why sometimes you'll see, is it a light blue or a dark blue? Is it a navy blue? Do you want a V-neck? And so you'll sometimes even get that tiny of details on some of our wish lists for that reason. It's very hard to get it specific because it's very difficult to think about what you want.
Yeah, and then availability becomes an issue.
Mhm.
We just do the best we can.
Exactly. And they are so grateful
And
for it. So
another question I have is, are there repeat families? If you were last year, you can still come back this year?
nope. All of our families are eligible only every other year. So this
Okay.
next year coming up, as I shared, we only did 83 families this year. So we are expecting around 105, potentially more families this coming Christmas as word gets out and as things grow. So yeah, we're kind of expecting there to be a bit more of a need this year. So yes. Let me see. And then ways to get involved. So I did bring a list of different ways to get involved. So we do utilize volunteers. We do ask volunteers to make a commitment, maybe to come in once a week for 2 hours. Right now, our biggest need is actually clothing sorting because nobody seems to like to do that. So as a result, I do it. But in specific, we have a volunteer for the food pantry that is only one individual. He sometimes gets called out on meetings. And so to have a person to come in to sort clothing every Thursday who would be cross-trained in the food pantry would be just an absolute dream for me. So those are kind of the big things for group volunteers. You'd want to reach out to Chris Buckley, our executive director. He kind of organizes when we have like a group of people come in and do a one-time volunteer position. They still get the joy of working with me though. We accept and we distribute, as I said, food, clothing, personal care items, or monetary donations to support our work. We accept both non-perishable and perishable foods. We do ask clothing to be clean in season. And since we're not able to wash clothing, we do not have storage to hold on to clothing that's out of season. And so that's kind of a tricky thing because if somebody was to bring in shorts and tank tops right now, even if they're in fantastic condition, they end up making their way out the door because we don't have the space for them. And with the weather where it is right now, I am expecting us to start taking in spring items coming in March, and I'll start out with a deficit of spring items at that time. So having those items magically show up at that time would be fantastic. And then we are unable to accept used underwear. Technically, we can do socks, but they have to be absolutely clean. And I will admit that is one of the things that kind of grosses me out is putting out used socks. So from a very biased point of view, if they're new, much better. For our personal care, I do have a list of items that we're most in need of with our personal care. Right now, I can tell you we are completely out of hand soap pumps, like the liquid hand soap. We are completely out of lotion. Mouthwash is not necessarily a 100% need, but when we can get mouthwash, that goes out very, very quickly. Like everybody wants the mouthwash and we almost never have it. And then the other thing is we are starting to focus on providing textured hair care products. So a lot of different ethnicities have different textures of hair. My hair is actually considered textured, so I even need these products for myself. But they are, so this would be wavy, curly, coily hair. They need to be sulfate-free, alcohol-free, high moisture. Most individuals go through more conditioner than shampoo. We tend to run out of conditioner a lot faster than we do shampoo. And so these items need to be used daily to keep hair from frizzing. And it depending on the type of curl. So products that this includes would be conditioner, leave-in conditioner, curl cream, mousse, gel, and hair oils. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Please ask questions. I kind of ran through everything a little bit quicker than I was intending to.
Feminine hygiene, you didn't mention that. Is that,
We actually got so much of it, and it's been amazing because I've been able to work with helping women, period. And so when we ran out of products, I reached out to them and they brought us 1,000 tampons. And so we were able to bag those tampons up. And so we are currently working our way through those and our pads. So that's one thing that for some amazing reason, we don't need at this time.
but it is one of the things you distribute.
It is one of the things we distribute. Something that we're no longer able to distribute is unfortunately infant diapers. We found that of all of our families, we only had 2 or 3 families that would utilize them. And we ended up with so many of them and we weren't going through them. And so at that point, we made a decision to be able to send people to St. Barnabas. And I'm trying to find other places that I can send people for diapers as
St.
well.
Luke's.
St. Luke's, yeah. So that's kind of a big one is where, where I'm trying to get together resources for if there's something that we're not doing in the community, where can they find this assistance? So that's one of my big drives personally. So yeah. But yes, that like I've discovered you guys have a free store. And so I would love to know more about that if you guys do household goods and items like that, because that's another thing to know where to send people. I went to an amazing program on Thursday in downtown Kalamazoo where they're putting together like a homeless neighborhood, which is fantastic. So they cleared out a encampment. And when they cleared it out, they started working with the families that were staying at the encampment. And over time, they're now building 10 houses. And they talked to the people about what they wanted. So they're actually the ones designing it. And I learned from them of a lot of different resources to send unsheltered populations to, which that it's kind of hard to prove residency in Portage if you don't have a physical residency. And so that's been really helpful to me to know that like St. Luke's downtown has a program where they'll provide furniture for families that are just getting into apartments or housing. And so that's one of our big drives too, is we're trying to kind of build up those resources.
So we have a lot of furniture in our gym
Okay,
and we provide that to refugees that have
okay.
just arrived.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, a lot of refugees have just arrived that literally the funding got pulled just as they made it to the
Yeah.
country. So it's been kind of heartbreaking to see. Okay. Any other questions about Portage Community Center? There is silence. Yes,
Where can I find the information about what you need? Because I'm not gonna remember like all the stuff that alcohol free.
I have a handout right here. So, yes, I also have a list of volunteer descriptions if anyone's interested in that and any other information. And yeah, if you have any questions, I did bring my card. You guys can reach out to me via email and I will be happy to answer any questions that I can.
And we're going to set up a meeting so that we can
Yes.
trade more information.
Yes, learn more about the resources and kind of what Because yeah, that is one of the things is since I am the only social worker case manager, there's only so much that I can do. And so we can't really design programs to meet everything because then there's no physical way I'd be able to accomplish it. And so knowing what resources are providing those additional needs is vital to the work that I do.
Well, and I'm sure people appreciate the limits on overhead costs. The money's going to
Yes.
services rather than a bunch of administration, so.
Yes, yes, the money does go to services, which I love. That was one of the things when the tornado occurred that we really had discussions about, because a lot of places when they were getting the money, they were just handing out $1,000 gift cards. And then people were using them to replace items, but then they weren't using them for on repairs or anything like that because they really couldn't. And so we decided instead of giving out money, if they brought in photos of the repair work that needed done, we partnered with an electrician who would go out and fix the electrical boxes at houses that power could be restored. We were doing things like that. So, yeah,
It's really cool.
yeah, and that's of course one of the things that we don't normally offer. So we really tried to see what the need was going to be in the community and where we could feasibly expand that while not kind of stepping outside of the realm of what was possible.
So you said that you collect information on income and stuff, like in the
Mhm.
tornado.
Mm-hmm.
What does income drive any of your decision making about sharing aid or?
Not with a tornado.
Okay.
For us, we use HUD's poverty income guidelines, and we actually serve people who make up to 80% above the poverty guideline. So a single household can be making $50,000, and we're still going to be providing assistance to them. In the 2 years that I've been with the Portage Community Center, I've only had to refuse services to 2 people for being over income the entire time.
There are exceptions for.
Yeah, for the tornado, we kind of put that to the wayside. We were like, if you can show that you've had the damage and you need the assistance, we're doing it, kind of a thing. So we're now to a point that we are taking that into consideration because our numbers have been slowly going down for the tornado assistance. So a lot of people have gotten the assistance that they need, but like if they're working with after the storm and after the storm refers them and lets us know what's going on, there are times when it's like, okay, we know that they've been affected. We helped one person with their property taxes this year. So, in fact, I think we partnered with you guys to be able to cover part of that. So yeah. So I think that's probably the only thing is we do have to kind of follow the guidelines because we do have to report that to the government as far as, you know, what groups people are falling into and that type of thing. Yeah. Anything else?
I just want to thank you for coming and explaining
Thank
it
you.
all to us. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I feel like I rushed through it though, I have to admit.
Well, I'm sure that we're going to grab those things and we'll contact you for further questions.
Here's the volunteer positions, and then I even brought a copy of, I only brought about 5 client intakes, but in case anybody wants to take a look at those as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
So Lynn, I think we have to tell Claudia that people want mouthwash.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And if
You
I could get
learn.
even more specific, if it's non-alcoholic, that's best. We do have a lot of people who have substance abuse issues, and if we know that they have substance abuse issues, we will be like, I'm sorry, we don't have any. So I would much rather be able to give them.
So is there a particular brand that, because what we find out at the free store here is that people are very brand conscious. Like if people like Crest and we have Colgate, then they don't want it, right? And it's very weird. But also our Tide lady, the people prefer Tide over any of the other close washing products. So,
They do, and to be honest, we let people know that these are donated, so if they want a specific brand, we will check and see if we have it, but if we don't, we will give them what we do
what we
have.
have.
Yeah. So, yeah, because we have some ladies who are like, I want Dove soap. Do you have Dove? Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. So, yes, thank you guys so much, and yeah, feel free to take any of these items. I think I brought a bit too many of my cards, but other than that,